Welcome to this podcast of Sound Off from August 31st, 2020 with your host, Nate Laux. Nate's topic today is concerning the voting upcoming this November with the pandemic still looming. Now here's your host, Pastor Nate Laux.
Hello, friends. It's Nate Laux, and I'm glad to be with you today. It's a beautiful day in LaPorte County. The weather has broke a little bit. It's not nearly as hot as it was. So I'm looking forward to having a good conversation. I'm hoping you're not cranky because the weather has broke. It's very, very nice. And we could talk a little bit about voter turnout. There's a recent article, and as our news guy, Stan Maddox, has also reported, there's a group in LaPorte County that is pushing for some changes in the way that we do voting here locally. And we'd like to talk a little bit about that. So today's question is, with another election right around the corner, what can LaPorte County do to increase voter turnout? The LaPorte County Better Government Study Group, a nonpartisan group of local leaders, is encouraging the formation of a South LaPorte County early voting location, a future with no excuse absentee balloting, and a feasibility study for the use of voting centers and a mobile voting vehicle for LaPorte County, much like they have in Porte County, among other things. So what do you think? Should LaPorte County add another early voting center in the south part of the county? Should they, like Porte County, invest in a mobile voting center? What are your thoughts on that? Now, the reason why this is often brought up and why it's maybe a challenge right now and why this issue is on the forefront of the minds of this organization is that there's only two places to early vote in LaPorte County. And as Stan Maddox has said, it's in LaPorte and Michigan City. But the other counties around us, Marshall County has 3, Elkhart County has 4, Lake County has 11 locations to early vote. Porter County has 5 locations to early vote. And so we'd like to talk about that. What kind of things do you want to see in LaPorte County to increase voter turnout, to help with our election stability, and to hopefully create a better environment for voting here in our community? Now, if you have a comment or an opinion, please do call or text the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522, or you can email me right into the studio at soundoff@967 The Eagle. I'd be happy to read your email or your text. So let's get to the callers. Hello, you're on Sound Off. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
As far as one of the southern part of the county, I think that's a good idea. Geographically, I think LaPorte is number 1 or number 2 in size.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's 2, yep.
Okay. And I mean, you go from 1,000 north to 2,400 south. That's 35 miles. And there's not a whole lot of people down there, but the people that are there, they have jobs, and to get to the courthouse in LaPorte or Mission City is difficult. And a lot of the people down there are older. So I think another position could be created down there for this. There's enough community centers and buildings down there that would do it. Voting centers instead of the precincts, I think everything I've read on that's an outstanding idea. It makes it easier for people to go and vote, and they may not have to stand in line at one. Instead of the precinct might have a line, and they could vote anywhere they want within that county. The counties that have done it have really created and increased their turnout, and we really, really have to do something to get voter turnout.
All right. Well,
this is be an option for us.
Yeah, I was doing some research on this, and I saw that the 2020 primary, we had 77,648 registered voters, but only 21.52% of those registered voters actually voted in the primary. So you have 21.52% of those who are registered deciding who the candidates are going to be for the election that we have in the general. And again, I think it's one of those things that we have to, if you don't like the candidates you have, if you don't like the options that you have in November, then it kind of goes back to, are you voting in May, right, or June? So
exactly. You if you don't vote, you've got no right to complain. I think the election period last year was only 28% turnout. So it helps keep some of these people in office that we really, really, truly need to get out of office, because people see name recognition, and the ones that vote, they just name recognize and they vote for them. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks so much for calling. Hello, you're on Sound Off. How are you?
Okay. As far as adding places to vote, I really have no problem with adding places to vote. I mean, if you should make it as easy as possible on people to vote.
And this is specifically what they're advocating for. Real quick, I just want to clarify. What they're advocating for is specifically making more places to vote early voting, so the 30 to 60 days before or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's what I was getting on next.
Just want to make sure. Yep.
Okay. Here's my thing. Now, for early voting, no, you don't need to increase anything. There doesn't need to be all this extra early voting for people to cheat or do whatever they got to do. Okay, we've set up an election system. On voting day, you go and vote. On election day, the polls are open. The problem is you need to get people off their lazy rears and go out here and vote. You got everybody that'll sit here on their butts and complain, but they won't get out here and vote. Okay, that's the biggest problem is laziness in America. People will not go out and vote. Like I said, I have no problem with adding extra places for people to vote. But as far as early voting and all this stuff, you don't need all that, because if you have to vote early because you're going to be out of town or something, then you simply get an absentee ballot, fill that out, send it in. That's all that needs to be done. We don't have to go through all these changes and jump through all these hoops. But the biggest problem with voter turnout is the laziness in America. Get off your rears, people. Go to the voting polls. It only takes about 5 minutes. Vote. Then you've got room to complain if you don't like things. But to sit here and not vote, that's just despicable.
Well, thanks so much for calling. As a comment to that real quick, early voting has increased every year in America, and it's continuing to increase. I see in 1992, about 7% of America early voted. In 2000, about 16%. In 2004, about 22%. 2008, 30.6%. Then in 2016, our last presidential election, 36.6% of Americans voted early in the election. So I think to say that we shouldn't vote early is maybe saying, or we shouldn't encourage it. I think it's something that we are already doing, and I don't think you can go back to where it was before. I think the question is because so many people do want to vote early, and again, there are many reasons why. Some are gone, or they have to work, or whatever, but how do we make sure that we are doing everything, or the county rather, everything they can to encourage as many people to vote as possible? All right, let's get back to the callers. Hello, you're on Sound Off. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
How are you, bud?
Hello. Hey, not too bad. This is Alan Stevens, and I'm the president of the South County Community Coalition. And as most of your listeners probably heard on the news, myself and our board have recently submitted a letter to the election board requesting a location down in South County, preferably Wanata. And this really isn't unusual. I mean, Porte County has an early voting site in Hebron, as well as the main courthouse in Valparaiso and their satellite courthouse in Portage. So, I mean...
Yeah, Porte County has 5. They also have one in Union Township as well. So, yeah, they have 5 in Porte County. Yep.
You know, by state law, you have to have an early voting location at the county courthouse. So the one in Michigan City is optional, you know. So I think it's put Michigan City as a convenience for that part of the county. We should also look at putting one in Wanata for the convenience of South County. You know, you have to keep in mind there's a lot of Dewey Township and some of Prairie that are closer to 3 other county seats than they are to LaPorte. And there are actually addresses in southwest LaPorte County that are closer to 5 other counties' courthouses than they are to LaPorte.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would, I think if you look at the numbers that we pointed out, early voting hasn't really been utilized by a lot of South County residents because it's not convenient right now.
Yeah. So would you early vote then if it was an option for you in the South County?
Because of some different political campaign things
Sure.
I've been involved in the past, I typically do go and vote early.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Because I'm busy on election day.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily, as one caller said, it's not the laziness. It's just there are other mitigating factors that, again, because maybe you're helping with the polling or whatever, or another campaign or something, you might want to vote early for another reason as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we're still kind of in the midst of, this is just one more way to alleviate lines at the standard polling places on Election Day. And as we've seen with a few hiccups in the primary with absentee ballots and counting and whatnot, this is a way to relieve some stress off of the clerk's office with so many extra ballots, and to, offer a third choice to early vote.
Agreed. All right. Well, thanks so much for calling. Thanks so much for listening.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we do have a text coming in here, and our Liquor Vault Online text line as well. Let me find my mouse here. People don't like to vote on the primary because you have to declare a party, which is true. In Indiana, you do have to declare a party. Many times there are people in each party they want to vote for. Yeah, that is one of the things that, again, you have to do in our primary in Indiana. You do have to declare on that ballot. You can only poll a vote for the Republican or Democratic Party, and some do feel that they don't want to do that. Now, if you have a question, if you have a comment or opinion for this, today we're talking about early voting. We're talking about voting turnout, things like this in LaPorte County. Please do call us at the Liquor Vault on airline at 219-362-0522. You can also text us or email us at soundoff@967 The Eagle. Let's take one more call before break. Hello, you're on Sound Off.
Hello, Nate.
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
Good.
My opinion is there should be no early voting. I don't see any reason for it. And the problem is people confuse early voting with absentee voting. There's a big difference. Why would you want to vote early until you've heard all the last comments of your favorite candidate, all the debates and everything, If you did have early voting, it should be no closer than possibly 10 days or 5 days before the actual election. That's what Election Day is for. Mm-hmm. You agree with that, or?
Well, I do vote mostly on Election Day. There's something for me that I like about voting on Election Day.
That's what it's for.
I don't, though, mind that people want to vote early, and I do recognize that there are reasons for it, as the caller that we just had, Mr. Stevens, said.
I know people that have made big mistakes by voting.
I think that is the cost of it. Again,
30.
What's that?
You vote 60 days early? How early can you vote?
I think it's 30 in Indiana, but don't quote me on that. I'm not on the election board or anything.
And in the past, I know people that all of a sudden their candidate pulled a boo-boo or something, and did something wrong.
It is the consequence.
And then they say, oh, geez, that no good guy. I wish I wouldn't have voted for him. Well, wait till the last day,
Sure. Well, I think that's
an absentee.
Yeah, that's something to think about. Well, thank you so much for calling, bud.
Oh, okay, you're done with me. I didn't hope
I'm done with you till the next show. Okay, call back. All right.
Yeah, Election Day is Election Day. Keep it that way. Don't have early Christmas either. Okay.
All right, sounds good, buddy. All right,
bye now.
All right. We are talking right now on Sound Off about election issues, voter turnout, specifically having more early voting locations. If you have a comment or opinion on that, do call us on the Liquor Vault on air line at 219-362-0522 or text us or email us at soundoff@967 The Eagle. We're going to take a couple-minute break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. So glad to have you with us on Sound Off today. We are talking about voter issues in LaPorte County based on an article and a report from our very own Stan Maddox about the South County needing and maybe even wanting or maybe even needing an early voting location in the south part of LaPorte County. If you have a comment or opinion on that or other voting issues here, please do call or text the Liquor Vault on airline at 219-362-0522. Just put that in your phone, save it as Sound Off or WCOE. And you can also email us at soundoff@967 The Eagle. Let's get back to our callers on line one. Hello, you're on Sound Off. How are you? Thanks for waiting.
Well, how you doing, Pastor?
I'm good. How are you, bud?
Doing the best I can.
Good.
I support the gentleman's efforts in the southern part of the county. He's exactly right. He brought up a lot of good points. They don't have any place down there to early vote. And with the COVID, that's real. There's a lot of deniers out there that don't believe COVID's real. I'm here to tell you, from personal experience, it's very real, and you don't want it. And if we can do anything to keep down people from having to be exposed to that, early voting, I think, helps. I early voted in the primary, and I think there were only 3 people ahead of me, and that was good. And the poll workers were doing all they could to make a safe environment in the voting area with masks and sanitizing the machines and whatnot. That was good. As far as early voting, I think that's a very good thing. I don't agree with your past callers on saying they're against early voting. Early voting has a lot of pluses, and I think if it increases turnout, that's the number one. But also, no one's ever stopped to think, but I think with early voting, they could probably tabulate the votes quicker. If they got, say, everyone that, or the majority of the people that voted early, they'd have the ballots in already. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. As far as no early voting, I can remember before I retired, my work hour ran from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, what are voting hours? Yeah. You know, and anything we can do to get more people to vote and allow them their right, I think, is a good thing. I don't know. I think to me it's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Anything that we can do that can increase voter turnout, especially when it's been, I know, and obviously in the general and primary are a little different, but in the 2018 general, we had less than 50% of registered voters vote, and then when you go to the primaries, and again, we could talk about why that is. You have to be registered, or you have to pick a party to vote in the primary and things like that. But again, we should want all of our neighbors that are able to vote, and whatever we can do to make that happen, I think we should hopefully figure that out.
Exactly right.
In a safe and appropriate way.
And you're not exposing the poll workers. A lot of poll workers are elderly people, and they shouldn't be exposed to health risk either.
Well, thanks so much for calling, and thanks for getting better, man. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Oh, yeah, doing better. Not 100%, but doing better.
All right, sounds good, buddy. All right, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Hello, you're on Sound Off. Hello, you're on Sound Off.
Yes, I have a question over this voting thing. Well, first of all, the one caller, when he made the comment about voting hours 6 to 6 and he worked 6 to 6, well, your employer has to let you go vote, so that dog don't hunt. But what I want to get at, what's going to be next here? Are we going to wait for 30 days after the election day so that we can get the late voters in too? Is that what we're going to do? I mean, what's the point in having election day if we're going to change all the dates that you can go vote? It's senseless.
Yeah, no, I think that's a common question that is brought up. Is will this delay the vote, tally and things like that? And I think it's something that voting officials would have to figure that out, because again, nobody wants to wait 30 days to figure out who won an election.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So we're going to get the late voters in, and then here's the flip side of it too. Voting early, what that turns into, there's an old saying: vote early and vote often. Just another room for scam. And I think that's why all these changes are trying to be made. People are trying to scam the election. We have election day. That's the day you need to vote. Period. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for calling. All right. We are talking about voting issues in LaPorte County, specifically whether or not we should get more early voting options and early voting centers here in LaPorte County, in the southern part of LaPorte County particularly. We do have some more texts coming in on the Liquor Vault on-air line. Here's a question. What happens if the person you vote for, either by early vote or absentee vote, dies before actual election? Would the VP win the election? I'm going to go to my constitutional scholar, Dennis Siddall. Dennis, what do you think?
Yes.
I would assume the VP does win, unless the party gets to decide. I have no idea.
Correct. Sir.
Thank you so much. We went to the judges for that answer, but the judges says that is correct. All right, let's get back to the callers here. Line 1, hello, you're on Sound Off. How are you?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm ready to sound off.
All right, sound off for me, buddy.
This Better Government group must believe that government can do things good, because most of the things that I've seen has not been very good. Now, the voter turnout on Election Day was originally written in the Constitution, right?
I don't know if there was in the original Constitution, honestly.
Well, 200 years ago, they didn't have early elections.
Yeah, I don't know if the actual voting date was written in the actual Constitution. I don't know that.
Well, they didn't have early elections or absentee. They had property owners, of which I have in LaPorte County. But I can't vote in LaPorte County. But I have to pay property tax for this election. And the Better Government group's argument is the low turnout. If you think back 19 years ago when 9/11 occurred and all the patriotic people would be coming to the polls, we're 19, almost 20 years from that, and it's failed miserable. Now, you can either blame the schools because people are so pathetic, they don't care anymore. They don't have the history. And that's the other thing, is voter turnout versus voter informed. And this year, absentee voting starts early October. If there's 10 people up for election, I hope your radio station starts interviewing them so people can be informed of who these people are and what they stand for. Because this county has had straight ticket voting, and they've become drones. You can call them Republican drones or Democrat drones. They're not informed voters. And I believe that everybody, that votes, should bring an ID to either cast their ballot on the day of the election or to receive an absentee ballot. They need to show an ID.
Well, that is the law in Indiana.
Well, but if I write in a request for a absentee ballot, and I get sent an absentee ballot, there's no ID that's being shown.
But that's not
on that person.
That's not allowed in Indiana, I don't think.
Well, there's an argument, and the Democrats have been arguing about having to show an ID on Election Day.
Yeah.
And they say, well, that's voter suppression. You're not letting people vote because they have to bring a voter ID, and that's just garbage.
Sure. So
that's the biggest discrepancy.
Getting back to the original point, though, are you against having early voting here in the county and more early voting options then? Is that kind of where you're going with it?
I'm against it because if I live in Illinois and I live in Long Beach or Michigan City and I voted in Illinois and I vote in Indiana, it should be the Attorney General or the Secretary of State that enforces that fine, because that's not going to come out till it's determined where that person lives. If they recently moved and haven't been removed off the rolls in Illinois, and they're not cooperating with the federal elections, the Attorney General of Illinois is not cooperating with the Secretary of State, notifying that these people have left Illinois and moved to another state.
All right. Well, I think
whether it's Florida or Georgia or Indiana or Wisconsin, it's the poor management of people in Illinois that they've relocated.
All right. Well, it is time to go. Unfortunately, that caller took a lot of the time. We have some more callers on the line that I would have loved to get to. I'm really sorry about that. But I do appreciate you listening to the show today. Obviously, we can talk about voting issues and voter turnout and what we can do to encourage more voting in many, many shows in the future. But I do encourage you to vote. I encourage you to look into who you're voting for and know that, again, your vote does count. So thank you so much for listening. Listen again this Friday at 12:30. We have State Representative Jim Pressel on the show. Call back, email, text us, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us and voicing your opinion on this edition of Sound Off.
The views on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. Sound Off airs every Monday and Friday at 12:30. Please mark your calendar and join us again for the next edition of Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Thank you for listening to the Sound Off podcast on 967theeagle.com.